We have 6 weeks of data. That means it is time to come back to the panic meter for Dynasty heading into week 7 here. So we got 5 names, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, talking about whether we're truly going to start to panic on some slow starts to the season. So let's dive in. Starting at the quarterback position, we have Bryce Young. And now, Bryce Young had a lot of hype, obviously, coming into this season. And while Adam Thielen, who, in my opinion, unexpectedly has been a fantasy superstar, the same has not translated for Bryce Young. Right now, he is averaging under 200 passing yards per game. He's also on pace for roughly 200 rushing yards, and to me, that's the more concerning piece. I think he'll begin to improve as a passer when he gets more dynamic weapons, players that are able to, kind of run more routes other than moving like 5 yards down the field. The rushing piece is what is worrisome because that was a lot of the talk in fantasy circles, at least, for why we were excited. Bryce Young looked like a player that could have been 4 to 500 rushing yards, right? Maybe not Kyler Murray, but a step or two below, and that was going to raise his floor, give him a higher ceiling, and make him just a much better fantasy quarterback. If this is going to be his pace, that's concerning because there is a lot that needs to change in this offense in order for Bryce Young to hit his potential ceiling, right? In order for him to be a CJ Stroud level fantasy quarterback, he either needs to run more or they need to drastically improve this offense, which may happen because Frank Reich is no longer calling plays. So there are, again, a lot of moving parts. I'm not done with Bryce Young, right? He's a rookie quarterback. He has played 5 games. The lack of rushing success or lack of rushing in general is what does start to bring some concern. So for me, we're at a 4 out of 10 when it comes to the panic meter. Switching over to the running back position, we have Rachaad White. And coming into the season, Rachaad White also carried a lot of hype. He was going to be the workhorse. He was the only guy in town, and he was going to perform because they had to lean on the run game. That was the expectation. Well, he is the guy in a sense, right? He has a 71% opportunity share. That's good for 11th among running backs. So all of the volume is his. He has a 11% target share. That's great. You want a ton of pass catching work. That is fantastic to see. Unfortunately, Rachaad White does not look like he's a good running back. Just in general, I don't think Rachaad White is very talented, and we're starting to see it play out in his efficiency numbers. Specifically, when you look at his yards per touch, right? For a player that is seeing an 11% target share, seeing a ton of work, you would hope he is around 5-6 yards per touch maybe. Well, that's not the case. He is at 3.8 yards. He is horribly inefficient, and that has really led to a ton of struggles for fantasy, right? And this is more of what we saw last year, which was just a lack of efficiency on the ground, not being very good through the air. He has a season-long carry of 16 yards. So the volume is there. That part is great. This could technically turn around, but now we have a season and a quarter of him just not being very good as an NFL player. So the panic meter, I'm at a 7 out of 10. The volume may be sticky enough for him to last through this season, but long term, the talent does not look to be there. Sticking at the RB position, we have another second-year running back who should have been the workhorse, right? At least it looked like he was going to be the workhorse back. We're going to talk about James Cook here. How could he not be the lead back this year? He's dealing with Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, who are solid, but in Latavius Murray's case, very old. Damian Harris has been underwhelming. How is this not James Cook's backfield? Well, to start the season, it was. He saw 57 touches over the first 3 games, or 57 opportunities. And that comes out to 19 opportunities a game. That's spectacular. That is like league-winning type usage. Over the next 3 weeks, so weeks 4 to 6, he's only seen 36 opportunities, 12 total opportunities per game. It is a concerning trend. It is not what we want to see for a guy that should be easily dominating touches in this backfield. And he's just not. And I can't truly figure it out because James Cook has been solid, right, when he's given the ball. He's 9th in yards per touch among all running backs. He doesn't have the efficiency issues of Rachaad White. They're just opting to use Latavius Murray significantly more than I think a lot of us expected. And because of that, over the last few weeks, James Cook has been below a 50% snap share 2 of the last 3 games. So this trend is concerning, especially when you bring back up his college profile, which was a guy that was never a workhorse running back. He was never a do-it-all type of player that was the focal point of an offense. Now, maybe the Bills saw what they needed to say, yeah, we can't trust him as the full-time, star running back we expected when we took him in the second round. So these are the things we need to be concerned about. ultimately, I think the talent is there. We've seen flashes of the opportunity, so we're not at Rachaad White levels of panic. I think we're slightly below because I think he's a lot more talented. So I think we're at a 5 out of 10 here. Starting to get worried, but it's not mass panic like a Najee Harris, a Dameon Pierce, or some of those other players. Before we get to our first wide receiver, guys, if you like what we're doing here, check out the DLF YouTube membership. That's going to give you access to additional videos every single week. You're going to get one member exclusive video, and then you're going to get extensions of other videos as well, like 5 moves to make or some other things we're doing every single week. So check it out, guys. The DLF YouTube membership helps support Addison and I as we do this throughout the year. So looking at Chris Olave, our first wide receiver here, he's the wide receiver 25 in points per game, which doesn't sound terrible, right? And you look at his game log, he's been fine. He's yet to top 20 points, and that is kind of limiting the overall ceiling for Chris Olave. Ultimately, he was expected to be a top 10 wide receiver. That was the expectation in fantasy. He was ranked as a top 10 wide receiver in Dynasty. Chris Olave has not met expectations. I think he's going to be fine, right? When you look under the hood, just a layer below his points per game, he has a 25.5% target share. He has a 40% air yard share. Chris Olave is getting the usage. He is getting the work that is going to lead to production. If anyone out there is panicking on Chris Olave, like, he is a buy low target, I think. And maybe not a true buy low in the sense of he's been abysmal and he's going to bounce back hard, but in the sense of he's just slightly been a little underwhelming. I think that's what you need to look at with Chris Olave. Everything else looks like it should be great. The points just have not come yet. We are at a 1 out of 10. I have no concerns about Chris Olave at all. I will be sending out first rounders plus for Chris Olave consistently, trying to scoop up a player that I think is going to drastically outperform wide receiver 25, which is where he's currently at in terms of points per game. And to close us out, we have Jeudy, a player I was very excited about coming into this season, right? The end of year splits were spectacular. He looked like a guy that was ready to make a leap, right? 24 years old, finally going to have year 2 with Russ. Sean Payton's calling plays. It's going to be fantastic. That has not been the case. In fact, we have seen Jeudy be more of the same. He has a 21% target share, which he was at 20-something% last year. He was at 19.9% the year before. He continues to be the same player. And I think ultimately Jeudy is a solid wide receiver. I don't think he is a scrub, right? He's not a bum running out there. I think Jeudy is a very good wide receiver too in an NFL offense. But a lot of what we anticipated or expected or were projecting was Jeudy to make the leap, to be a top 15 guy, maybe higher. Like, that was the expectation. That was the hope with Jeudy, given his draft capital all those years ago, what we saw at Alabama. This was finally the time for it to get right. And it just hasn't happened. And it has nothing to do with him not running enough routes or being a full-time player. He has a 99.2% route participation. He is out there full-time. He's just not earning targets. He has been out-targeted by Courtland Sutton in 4 of 5 games. So let's break it up. We got 2 separate panic meters. For Jeudy and his career, like a 5 out of 10. I think he'll ultimately be fine. Jeudy for wide receiver 1 production, 9 out of 10. I do not think he's going to get there. And I am ready to kind of pull the cord on that kind of projection, all the way up here. I think realistically, bring it down. Top 20 would be spectacular if he ever gets that. I think that is the most realistic outcome for Jeudy now. Unfortunately, well below what we projected.
This is a tier 3.
All right, guys, that is all we have for you. Again, if you like what we're doing, check out the DLF YouTube membership. Get a ton of extra content every single week from myself and Addison. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.